Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Previously, we made our way into the salt mines. We did not go very far because I wanted to do a lot of um, analysis, discussion on the the kind of the science behind what we just learned. But we essentially learned about a bunch more about what's going on here. That Eveline is a bioweapon that was planned to pacify subjects on a battlefield, essentially, using her kind of mind control abilities, and read a bunch of documents on, the infection. We know the infections coming from something called the mutamycete that it's introduced to the embryo in the production of the asset, in this case, Evelyn, and then that's what's essentially growing over the people. So this uh, Mutamycete essentially is what's causing all of this, which I think is a really cool name on that part. And we now have a means to potentially kill her through this E necrotoxin that we have. And we've heard the term E before, so this E series, D series stuff. So she's considered the E series asset in this case. She's the one that's causing all the infection. So she's kind of our target right now because she's the one that's causing all of this here. So we're going to continue through the mine and see what's what, see what we run into. So I was thinking of changing up a little bit of my loadout, but I don't know if it's necessary or not. I'll take the bombs. We could take the grenade launcher. I don't know that I necessarily need the burner at this point. We could take the mag as well if we wanted to. Um, I kind of know it's ahead of us, so I'll just kind of plan for what I know. Um, oh wait, did I put the mag away? Or did I just not take it out? Okay, good on that. 4 rounds. I'll take it. Grenade launcher. Okay, got that too then. I'm thinking we might want to try and save some of this stuff, but most of it I think we'll be okay on. So I'm going to do a little bit of rearranging here. Got handgun ammo. I'll try to do this in kind of a logical setting as much as I can. Um, I want this up here. And this here, basically so I can swap these out as quick as I can. So I can put this up here if I need to, or move this up here as needed. I don't think we're going to need much else otherwise. Seems to be closed. Don't really need that. I do want to be able to access some of this stuff, so put the cursor in a good spot. I think there are magnum rounds over here. I don't know where though. I don't see them. Let's sit back here further. could be too far away from them because I really can't. But the site here is not so bad, but I was kind of clicking around, but. Okay. I don't want to waste my time on it because it's not really that important, but. Oh, am I empty? Oh crap. Oh my god, really? Really? Oh, I'm already out again, cripes. Okay, I didn't realize I was that low on ammunition. I should probably use the bombs a bit more then. Yeah, we got plenty of those. And shotgun, of course, but... Oop, I'm empty. I did not realize that. The handgun's still glitched. That's... Oh boy. Hopefully you're not gonna go boom on me. Here you come. don't know if I'm hurt. I'm just gonna take one. Okay. Get that in the mix. Honestly, I'm gonna forgo all of this for now. Explosives will serve us well here, but oh crap. Oh crap. No, no, no. Did I have bombs left? No, I did not. Well, that worked. Actually, nah, this will work. Good enough, I think. Okay. Do a quick look around. Well, it was more of that, huh? Oh, thank you. That's nice to have. Alright, if there's anything else here, it's probably not going to be very visible to me, so... Call it good there, I think. I don't know, I mean... I probably really don't need the handgun anymore, do I? Not that you ever want to forsake the handgun, but... Yeah, why not, right? So we have one more Mr. Everywhere left. I think we gotta get past this area here first. I can't see anything. Am I supposed to see anything here? I don't know. Okay, mind map, alright. You know, again, the maps would be nice to have at an earlier point. Do I really need to save? Is that really important at this stage? I guess it doesn't hurt. That's gonna bother me. Okay, I can actually. Um, yep, and that should look familiar. That's the Eveline doll from the very beginning. Mr. Nowhere. Because I got them all. Get it? Sorry. Sorry.
I'm sure it's it. It's not here. It's gone. It's gone!
Because we are back in the guest house at this point, so... Whew. And... recall this? E001 from the very beginning. If you didn't follow what Lucas was saying, the Grandma Baker, is Eveline. In his first document, he was writing that she's getting gray hairs, wrinkly, and almost looks like she's getting old because she's prematurely aging. Which is what would happen if you had a... So if you kind of look at the idea of what she is and how she... Well, I mean, she can regenerate, of course, but I'm assuming that hasn't really been an issue for her since she, looking like a little girl is going to make her much less likely to get attacked than just about anybody else. I mean, who's going to attack a little girl? But the fact that she spreads the mold by vomiting, because like I said, it has to be through direct contact. There's nothing about spore transmission. Everything goes through direct contact, and in her case, Mia mentioned her in the videotape vomiting vomiting in more excess of her own body mass, which means she's going to need to reproduce her own cells. And so she's limited in how much regeneration she can do. And she ages prematurely because of that. Hence the Grandma Baker. Which is also why when we got the documents in Grandma Baker's room, the documents were actually about Marguerite. They weren't about Eveline. So they are one and the same person. And we are now seeing a bit of what Mia was going through. No?
This is your fault.
Why am I seeing this?
Ethan, it's okay. It's okay, it's me. I know you didn't mean to hurt me.
Kill him, Mommy.
But you shouldn't have done that! It fucking hurts!
Does it want to be my daddy? Then he can die. Now it's Mommy's turn to kill you.
See, and that's reflective of what was happening to her. When she was making those comments, that's when she was starting to get more aggressive with us. Yeah, this looks different. TV's gone. Some of the... Oh, there's a bed here. Yeah, this is really different. The dollhouse. I wonder if we're seeing this. I think this is what it's supposed to really look like, right? I mean, we haven't been here since the very beginning.
You're gonna be one of us. And then maybe you'll play nicely.
I'm not playing.
No! Get that away from me!
Or maybe we are seeing some of this. 'Cause that certainly wasn't there before.
You.
Why does everyone hate me?
say that when one door closes, another opens. Well, a door closed tonight. And what a long night it was. But not just for me. Me and I weren't the only victims here. So were the Bakers. It was that thing, Eveline, who made them that way. But now Eveline's dead. And these guys are here to clean up the mess. I had just come to terms with losing me. And now she's back and wants to start over. Put all this behind us. Maybe this is where the next door opens.
Go tell Aunt Rhodey. Go tell Aunt Rhodey that everybody's dead. I was raised in a deep, dark hole. A prisoner with no parole. They locked me up and took my soul. Go tell Aunt Rhodey. Go tell Aunt Rhodey. Go tell Aunt Rhodey that everybody's call to him and he will come. She'll run to him like he's the one. His arms outstretched, but when she's done, he'll be torn apart. Go tell Aunt Rhodey. Go tell Aunt Rhodey. Go tell Aunt Rhodey. Go tell Aunt Rhodey. Go tell Aunt Rhodey.
All right. So it looks like my collectibles checked out. So I was able to at least get all of those. I'm surprised I didn't miss any. Usually I'm pretty good about them, but I was second guessing myself a few times. Almost 12 hours. How much of that was me talking about science? All right. That was the end of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, the main story of this game. I want to talk a little bit about some of the questions you may have at this point and close out by just talking about my thoughts on the game. First things first, you're probably thinking, what happened to Lucas? We didn't really get a conclusion there. And if you are a fan of the older Resident Evils, you may be asking why Chris Redfield is with Umbrella, because there was an umbrella symbol on the helicopter. Those questions will actually be answered in the first DLC storyline, Not a Hero, which is what we are going to play next. So I'm going to save my thoughts on that. All we know is that Lucas went into the mines, according to the conversation Chris was having over the radio. So he's Alpha 1, if you didn't pick up on that. The other question you may have is, what happened to Zoe? We left her on the pier, on the jetty, where, when we took off towards the wrecked ship. And in addition to that, I brought up the idea that, is Jack officially dead? Because when we were connected to the others through the Mutamycete, we saw, we had a conversation, a vision of us having a conversation with Jack and Zoe in the background. And like I said, the reason Mia and Lucas weren't in there is because they were not under her control at the time, and Marguerite was not there because Marguerite is officially dead. We saw her calcify, just like we saw Jack, but she actually fell to pieces. Those questions will be answered in End of Zoe, which is the second DLC story that was released. So we will be getting to that eventually as well. Another question you may have, which is a burning one for me not when I first played this, because I wasn't really second guessing things, I was just going through the motions, but that really started to burn on me the more I started to watch playthroughs of this, play it myself, was, what about Ethan? He had his hand cut off with a chainsaw and had it stapled back on. Hands do not just reconnect themselves. That is not how that works. He has to have some ability of theirs to regenerate. We know that he was, it didn't happen quickly, but we know that he has that ability, so we know he has the ability to regenerate, which means he has to have the Mutamycete in him. We know that he was seeing Eveline at the point where we went to the old house, the upper part of it. So he was starting to come under her spell some at that point. Not very prominently. I don't think she was really coming at him that strongly. But remember, Eveline was the old lady, not the little girl that we've been seeing. The real Eveline was in the house most of the time. So she was, the times that we heard, like you could hear the piano playing in the old house. She told us to stop, stay away from the D-Series arm, essentially. She said stay away after our flashlight blacked out. She was the one sending the molded at us at that point. So, he was infected, for lack of a better word, at that point. We know that. Like I said, you don't just regenerate. Your hand doesn't just seal back onto your skin like that. Not how that works. That does actually get answered in Resident Evil Village. which is the next game in the series, the next sort of numbered game in the series. Um, but that's one of those things where I was like, well, clearly he has to be at least infected. At least there has to be something going on there. He clearly has the mutamycete in him. That's not in question. It can't be in question. He wouldn't be able to do the things he's doing without it. I may, at some point down the road, um, do a series on Resident Evil Village for that sole purpose because I'm really not a big fan of the game. And in Bob's Burgers fashion, okay, I'll play it, but I'm gonna complain the whole time. I won't really be that bad, but I mean there are good parts to the game, but I just didn't like what they did with the science in it after turning out a masterpiece like this. I really just didn't. It wasn't big on my list. It was a disappointment for me. That's the way I would say it. It's not that there's not redeeming qualities to it or anything like that, but it does answer that question. It actually answers it in a very interesting way to me. So there's that. In addition to those, so like I said, we'll play Not a Hero and End of Zoe in that order. There are a couple of other DLCs I would like to add into the series. Bedroom is a really interesting one. It's not necessarily as story heavy as the other ones, but it's a nice little scary puzzle story that goes with it. And I'd like to end off with Daughters, which kind of goes into um, back into the past when this actually all started. That's probably actually one of my favorite parts of the story is Daughters. So we will get to those after we do the kind of complete story. Because Resident Evil 7 Biohazard is kind of the main story that follows Ethan. His story concludes. We go on to play as Chris and Not a Hero, and we go on to play as Jack's brother, Joe Baker, in End of Zoe to kind of finish off this story. And it kind of gives a big continuation of what's going on after Ethan is out of the picture here. Because we got to see that, Ethan got away with Mia. So had kind of a happy ending there. One other thing to bring up, since I did not show it, is if you had chosen Zoe at the pier instead of Mia, you learn a little bit about the tanker ahead of time. She kind of gives you a bit of information on that. Same thing happens otherwise. You still end up playing as Mia, but because Mia was not treated with the serum, she cannot overcome her urges to save Ethan, or she can't overcome Eveline in time to save Ethan, and you end up having to actually kill her and put her down. So you do end up having to fight her in that room where she saves you. So it ends up with a much darker ending when you get to the helicopter at the end because she's not there anymore. She doesn't make it, which is really sad and disappointing if you ask me. Because I really like Mia. I think Mia is a really interesting character, and I would love it if she actually got her own game or something like that. Because to me she's really intriguing. And if you and the way we played it is kind of the continuity point that you have to follow to go into Resident Evil Village, which is another reason I kind of go with that. But I mean, obviously, who is he going to choose? It's like, let's be real about it. But that is the continuity of the story, that she is supposed to survive in order for Village to play out. So another reason to kind of go down that route if you weren't thinking about it already. Now, as far as the game goes, I remember when this first released, I was I bought the game. I think probably had it on pre-order because I had kind of given up on Resident Evil around the time that I shouldn't say I gave up on it. I played Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6. I tried giving it a chance after chance. I could not get into those games. I really didn't like them, and the more I heard people talk about them, the less I started to like them. And 4 had its fun moments when it first came out for me, but it just wasn't Resident Evil for me. And so when this was being announced, I didn't know anything about it, hadn't followed it because like I said, I kind of gave up on Resident Evil, especially after Resident Evil 6. Um, and so when this came out, I had heard that they were really going back to the roots on this one. I was a little bit skeptical because they said something very similar about Resident Evil 6. But I was very pleasantly surprised with what they did. It was very different initially when you get started, but as you start getting into the game, it really felt like Resident Evil 7 marked a true return to the horror roots, which is what I don't like about Resident Evil Village. it feels much more like Resident Evil 4 in the follow-up games to that. So another reason I'm not a big fan of Village. But focusing on Resident Evil 7, so like I said, it really to me felt like it marked a return to the horror roots, which was a big part of what made the Resident Evil games fun for me to begin with. Why I really like, because Resident Evil 2, the original, was my first game, and it terrified me. And I will say none of the horror games out there, except for maybe like Visage, however you want to say it, or maybe Madison, have really got under my skin as much as this game has. Um, and so horror wise, this game really hit really hit me hard. There were so many times when I was playing this where I would start up the game. I would sit there like messing around on my phone or computer or something while I had the game in the background with full intent to play it. And it'd be like the end of the day, and I'd be like, well, let's plan what I'm gonna do. So I'd pull up the map, I'd be in the save room, and I wouldn't make any progress because I was so scared I didn't want to leave the room. And then I'd start saying, oh well, it's getting late. I don't really should I be playing this late? I should get to bed, even though I wasn't actually gonna go to bed. And it like paralyzed me playing this game for so long. It took me months to get through this game. I did not sit down and play through this quickly. It took me months to get through it. And I'm like, and I was busy. It wasn't like I had a lot of time where I could just sit down and play every day. But I could have probably beaten this much sooner or completed it much sooner than what I did. But there were so many times I was just paralyzed with fear when I played this. This game really got under my skin, and I remember watching somebody else play it. If you have not seen it, watch Darkness's playthrough on YouTube. His is really good. There's a point where he said, I don't know how this feels to you guys, but it's creepy. And he said, I feel this tightness in my chest. And I was like, that's exactly how I felt the entire time I played this. It was actually difficult to play because of that. And I'm like, that's true horror. That's what I wanted out of these games. And it kept, not only that, but it kept my attention. It kept me wanting to go forward with the game. But it was so scary that it took me that long to do it. And then as I started playing the game and getting past like the guest house, which is where we started and ended the game. Once I started getting past that, uh, I started to see how much the Baker estate was reminiscent of the mansion from the original Resident Evil, but at the same time so different, and how they brought back a lot of the old timey Resident Evil vibes with so many different things they did, that I was like, this is exactly what I needed out of a Resident Evil game to get me back into the franchise. This is what I needed. This is what I wanted. And so this game really quickly became my favorite of the entire series. And I'm not big on playing favorites with games, especially when they're very different from each other. But this one just hit a different note for me. And if I look back on this too, like just now that I'm playing it, my favorite parts of this are the main house when you are being chased around by Jack and running into the molded. That's just it's a good chunk of the game because you're kind of on your own trying to figure things out. And Jack got under my skin. He was terrifying. He was one of my favorite characters in all of games. I would say I think he's a really intriguing character. The molded I thought were absolutely terrifying, and like I said, the science on it was really cool. So the main house stands as one of my three favorite parts of the game. Um, the old house. I thought the old house is really cool. I thought it was very reminiscent of the residence from the original mansion in Resident Evil. But particularly the upstairs got really under my skin. When you're upstairs and you first start running across Eveline, man, that got under my skin. That was terrifying to me. Not like the entire game wasn't, like the whole game was, but and then the wrecked ship. I know some people um, for whatever reason don't seem to like the wrecked ship, but I thought that was terrifying. You have no weapons. There's molded all over the place. I mean, it just those are like points in the game where I'm like I would get so paralyzed with fear that I wouldn't want to move forward. Um, in addition to that, like the characters in this, because there's not a lot of variety in the enemies, and I like that because it fits the science. And I thought it was, to me, they still were terrifying no matter how many times I saw them. But the characters were really cool in this. They were really well acted. The mechanics behind them were really cool. And so if I look at, like, for instance, Jack was one of my favorite characters. I just love all the parts of him. They're so much fun. And then you have to deal with Marguerite, and she's a whole different ballgame from him. And they kind of keep you on your toes with that, with how they switch things up. Um, And one thing about that, and it particularly comes down to like Mia and Jack versus like Marguerite, for instance, because we don't really deal with Lucas much, at least not directly. And so those two in particular, if you think about the fights that you have with Mia and Jack, it didn't ever feel like a traditional boss fight for a game to me. Marguerite's the one time where I like really felt like I was going into a boss fight. The first time you fight Mia, she's coming at you with a knife. You have nothing to defend yourself for the first part of it. Then you end up getting an axe and you're kind of swinging at her, and then you get a gun and you're shooting at her. Everything felt very in the moment and didn't feel like it was really set up for a boss fight in many ways. And it has the Telltale boss fight stuff to it, but it just didn't feel that way, and I like that. And then Jack especially, like the first time you run across him, he just walks out of nowhere, and you're like, oh dear lord, he's walking around the house. And then you end up in the garage fight, and it's like it didn't feel like a staged boss fight because the only thing you could do is get away from him, get in your car, and run him down. Like it didn't feel like you're going through a boss fight. And same thing with the processing area when you fight him. It didn't feel like a boss fight again because like you weren't really gunning him down like you would your typical fights like you do with Marguerite. You end up getting a completely new weapon out of nowhere. And to me, it just felt very fresh with a lot of the ways they approached those moments. And I do like that they threw in kind of a couple more traditional boss fights in there. Like I said, Marguerite's kind of on that list, but that's what I really liked about when you kind of go up against Mia or Jack, is that they didn't feel like boss fights. They just felt like these really unique moments where you had to defend yourself and get away from them. Um, and on top of that, I felt like Eveline was a really interesting character because you don't really know what to make of her throughout the story. In fact, when I first played this, I was questioning whether there was even science in this to begin with. I didn't know if she was supposed to be a ghost or what. So I thought she was kind of an intriguing antagonist, especially when you get the reveal that she's also the grandma, that they're the same person. Very cool way to kind of reveal that and how they did, because they indicate this so early on in the story, and you don't really think twice about it throughout the game, because you see her photograph of the old lady, you see the number, and you just don't think about it after that. But that's her number as far as how they signify her as a weapon. So very, very cool if you ask me. And so I can't sing the praises of this game enough. I was really, really pleased with it. It's my favorite one to go back to. I'd say next to maybe Resident Evil 3 Remake is one of my upper ones because there's a lot of replayability to that game, even though it's short. But it definitely this one definitely stands as my top and probably one of my favorite horror games because it's the one that still to this day gets under my skin. I still get surprised by things. I still feel um, I still feel a bit of fear when I play it. And every time you play a horror game, it's like it becomes a little bit less and less scary. Unfortunately, in some cases, but like I said, this one really got under my skin when I first played it, and it really felt like a true horror game to me, unlike a lot of the other Resident Evil games that had come out more recent to it. So those are kind of my thoughts on the game, and and on top of that, I just have to comment that like the music here, chef's kiss. I love it. I think the music in this game is great. Resident Evil's never faltered on that, and I think I feels like they really well integrated it into the game, so you didn't feel like you were listening to music very much the way they've been doing with more modern Resident Evils, and I like that. But they had some of these, like the save room music is really good. They have a couple of tunes throughout out the story that are kind of unique, um, and so I kind of like those touches. They really have outdone themselves in that way in so many of the titles. And this one I think is one of those that stands out to me as kind of getting the music right in that sense. And that's a good place to end this episode. So to recap, we started off in the salt mines just post lab because I talked about the science in the previous episode. Made our way through Eveline's molded into the guest house, which is where we faced off with her once and for all. And of course, Ethan had the reveal that it was Grandma Baker, not the little girl that we've been seeing. And of course, we kind of already had that hinted to us, so I feel like he was being a little bit dense there. But we faced off with her, and a bunch of people came in to rescue us. And of course, like I said, we still have more to go. It's not like we're done with the story. But that was the end of Ethan's story, at least as far as this game goes. Continues in Village, of course, but That's the end of his here. So next time we are going to start Not a Hero. And that is the kind of first continuation to this story that kind of leads towards the conclusion of Resident Evil 7. With that being said, let us close things out for the night. Thank you all for joining, and I will see you all later.